Hello, hello! I'm back from Gamescom 2024, which was earlier in the week, or maybe longer, depending on when I get this video up. And I got my hands on some incredible VR titles that were being showcased there. And yes, I am slightly sick, so sorry for that in advance. But from rhythm games to survival horror, there was something there for everyone. First, let me express my love for the home of XR. This was a dedicated area for VR gaming, featuring 18 different playable titles from 13 studios. If you had a trade or a media pass, you had access to this area, and it was kind of like a safe haven in the middle of what ended up being the biggest Gamescom ever. And as someone from North America, it was really nice to be able to meet developers and other fellow influencers that I hadn't met yet, and being able to just re-meet people. Also free drinks at the bar which was there, which was pretty cool. And they had a really nice lounge for just hanging out or for meeting people. I cannot wait to see how big this grows for next year, but you're not here for that. You're here to check out the games that I got to try. First up, action heroes like stepping into your own action movie. The game features scenes inspired by classic films, and the slow-mo mechanics make this feel like a spiritual successor to Superhot. I played through a level reminiscent of Indiana Jones, but with a Jurassic Park twist, dodging and punching raptors. If you've ever wanted more content for Superhot with a graphical upgrade and familiar movie genres, you'll get your chance when Action Hero releases in Quest late 2024. Launching in early 2025 for MetaQuest and Steam VR, All On Board aims to bring the social experience of board gaming into VR. While I didn't recognize any familiar IPs of any of the games that they'll have at launch, the custom environments and mechanics handcrafted for each game were impressive. The developers are eventually planning on making a mod tool that will allow board game companies to add their own games to the platform as well. This could be a game changer, potentially bringing more popular tabletop games into VR. The in-game tutorials, which pop up as YouTube videos, were also a nice touch for learning new games. Band space is a treat for any rock band fans. I tried all 4 instruments: drums, guitar, bass, and keyboard. The bass and keyboard were my favorites, offering unique instruments that felt different from other VR rhythm games. The guitar was challenging but rewarding to master, and while the drums felt familiar, they were still fun to play. The stages look fantastic and react dynamically to the music, creating a satisfying concert atmosphere. Something I noticed though was that it was sometimes hard to hear my bandmates' contributions, which slightly diminished the multiplayer feel. It's cool to see everyone on the stage, but the 𝐂𝐿𝐓 of the models is a little awkward. Still, with over 30 songs spanning various genres and the ability to import custom tracks, Bandspace seems set to offer plenty of content when it hits MetaQuest and Steam VR Q4 of 2024. If you're looking for a VR survival experience, Bootstrap Island is already available for Steam for $19.99. This game doesn't compromise on graphics, with highly detailed animal animations and lush environments. I really enjoyed the survival aspects, like making fire at night to ward off creatures such as wolves and Komodo dragons, which were actually a little scary. The game doesn't hold your hand much, which might be challenging for some players, but I found it rewarding to figure things out on my own. The developers are planning on adding more buildable structures and even a challenging gorilla boss guarding access to deeper parts of the island, which sounds exciting for future updates. Ember Souls is like Prince of Persia meets Assassin's Creed VR. This action-adventure game combines parkour elements with combat and puzzle solving in a Persian-inspired world. I loved the fluid movement system. Wall running and leaping between platforms felt natural and idiot-proof, but some of the comfort settings like slow-mo on pole grab can also be turned off if you'd like. The combat system felt okay, kind of like your average blade and sorcery type game. There's also unlockable powers like freezing water under enemies, a force push ability, and more. The game will feature both a story campaign and a procedurally generated dungeon crawler mode, promising plenty of replayability when it comes to MetaQuest and Steam in late 2024. Set to launch on September 26, 2024 for MetaQuest and Pico, Escaping Wonderland offers a unique blend of first-person and third-person perspectives in the world of Alice in Wonderland. The voice acting is so good and really brings these characters to life. It took me a little longer than I'd like to admit to figure out how to use them, but the game utilizes these little roots in the scene that you can grab in order to reframe, stretch, or shrink the scene. The game also features narrative choices that allow you to influence the main character's emotional responses, and I'll be curious to see how this affects the ending. The developers assured me that you do not need to have played any of the previous games to enjoy this new adventure, which is great for newcomers to the series. Grim by Combat Waffle Studio brings survival crafting to space in a title aiming to support up to 60 players at launch, with plans to increase that to 100 later. During my demo, I got to try out the base building mechanics, including the upgrade hammer, allowing you to improve materials from wood to stone to metal, for example. Like any other survival crafting game, you start off hitting things with a rock and finding basic resources until you work your way up to actually crafting tools. The game will feature 7 different monuments or hotspots for resource gathering, like biodomes and airstrips. You also have to manage various survival elements like radiation levels, oxygen, food, and water. Look for Grim when it enters early access in 2024 for MetaQuest and Steam. Available now on Quest and PSVR 2 for $12.99, Infinite Insight offers a blend of VR and mixed reality puzzle solving. The core gameplay involves finding shape pieces in VR and assembling them to insert into a mixed reality tower. This switching between VR and MR modes made for a really unique experience. There also seems to be some sort of a story following a stone man in this puzzle world, which I would be curious to learn more about. While the concept is simple to grasp, the challenge comes from finding the right pieces in the VR mode and then figuring out how to properly assemble them in mixed reality. Last Stand is a 1v1 mixed reality zombie shooter that uses your actual room space as the game's environment. It puts someone else's mapped space across the hall from you, so to speak, in a zombie-infested mall. It also uses Meta's updated inverse kinematics for more accurate hitboxes. I found myself not only battling my opponent, but also fending off of AI-controlled zombies. An interesting tactical element is the ability to trigger burglar alarms, sending more zombies to your opponent's location. They then have to input a code to deactivate the alarm, adding some strategy to the chaos. The virtual elements are very heavily laid on top of mixed reality, but as long as you have your walls, doors, windows, and furniture labeled, there will be virtual representations of them to use when you play. Last Stand comes to MetaQuest in winter 2024. Developed by the team behind the Return to Rapture mod for Half-Life Alyx, Memoreum is a space station horror game that gave me Dead Space and Doom 3 vibes. The demo featured a variety of enemy types, like zombie-like creatures to wall-clinging aliens that spit acid at you. The game also gave you a backpack with a toolset that includes things like a metal cutter, bolt remover, and even a wire finder that you could use to detect connections through walls. The combat felt solid, not very realistic, but I would say more satisfying arcadey with a range of weapons at my disposal. I actually enjoyed the default energy pistol, which doesn't run out of ammo, which was nice, but it needs recharging, which I found simpler than having to reload magazines or shells. Horror fans can look forward to Memoreum when it launches on the MetaQuest store and Steam in 2025. Another Combat Waffle game, Silent North, is set in the Swedish Alps, planning for 30 to 40 player servers on a massive map. The demo I played was still in early stages, showcasing basic scavenging mechanics and zombie encounters. The developers are working on implementing first-party dedicated servers, and the game also features a day and night cycle. While there wasn't much to the demo yet, beyond some cabins to explore and zombies to avoid, the concept has potential. I'm particularly interested to see how they balance the survival elements with the multiplayer aspect in such a large landscape. I guess we'll find out more when Silent North hits early access in February 2025 for MetaQuest and Steam. The new Salsa Academy brings dance instruction into VR, available now on MetaQuest for $19.99. What impressed me most was how cute and approachable the instructors are. They're so energetic and not intimidating in the least. The progression of lessons felt natural, and I found myself picking up basic steps more quickly than I expected. You can also choose whether to lead or follow as you practice with the blue shadow partner. And the game has a mixed reality mode in case you want to make sure you're not dancing into any walls or furniture. It's a great option for those looking to learn salsa in a low-pressure environment. Trombone champ Unflattened brings the viral hit rhythm game into VR, coming to MetaQuest, Steam VR, and PSVR 2 in fall 2024. This adaptation felt built from the ground up for VR, with the developers mentioning they had to recreate many assets from scratch. The result is very far beyond the original mod that placed the game into a black void. Gameplay-wise, it stays true to its roots while adding VR-specific challenges. Notes fly at you from both left and right, requiring you to pay attention. It's easy to pick up, but difficult to master, striking that perfect balance that makes rhythm games so addictive. Vendetta Forever brings high-octane action to VR with its innovative low-kill motion mechanic. When you take down an enemy, a blue reticle appears on the weapon or body. Grabbing this reticle pulls you forward, equipping you with the enemy's weapon or swapping your position with theirs. This creates a fluid, almost dance-like flow of combat. During my demo, I found myself so caught up in the intensity of the gameplay that I accidentally hit a wall in the cubicle. Whoops. The mechanics reminded me of a mix between Super Hot and Pistol Whip, but with its own unique flair. Action fans can look forward to Vendetta Forever when it launches in October 2024 for MetaQuest and PSVR 2. Lastly, one of my favorites, Walltown Wonders offers a charming twist on town-building games in mixed reality, coming to MetaQuest in Q4 2024. Your living room walls become the foundation for a vibrant miniature town populated by colorful characters. I found myself completing quests for the little townsfolk, which unlock new buildings and expanding the town. The game features over 40 different characters to meet and nearly 100 buildings to unlock. What really stood out was the ability to pick up and interact with the tiny inhabitants. At one point, I was controlling a miniature biplane, even though I wasn't very good at it. The developers mentioned plans for seasonal updates which should keep the town feeling fresh and dynamic. And there you have it, 15 different titles that I got to try at Gamescom 2024. The variety and quality of all of the different games just shows how far VR gaming has come. Oh, and I can't forget to mention the World of Warcraft VR experience that I got to try at the Xbox booth. While it's not a full game, this was basically a promotional VR ride for the War Within expansion, which was incredibly cool. Besides being on this weird apparatus, you also had wind effects that were timed really well with what you were seeing in the headset, and it was surprisingly thrilling. This was quite an expensive and well done setup for just promotion, but hopefully we'll see more like it in the future, and who knows, maybe we'll see an actual Blizzard VR title one day. Anyway, which of these games are you most excited about? I'd love to hear them. As always, keep on creating and never lose that drive to improve. I'll see you on the next one.